Hello and welcome to Cycling Weekly's preview of the final stages of the 2017 Giro d'Italia, stages 16 to 21. This is it, the finale of the race. Stage 16 comes after a rest day and it looks like an absolute epic.
I'm tired just looking at it. I mean, it's absolutely vicious after a rest day to be presented with the Motorolo and the Stelvio twice. It's not going to ease anyone back into riding, that's for sure. It's possibly what, 4,000 meters of climbing. If you've not done your rest day correctly, you could very conceivably lose the race this day.
I think if there's any saving grace to be taken from this stage, it's that there's no climb early in the stage. The Motorolo comes with, what, 85 kilometres in? And if there was a climb early in the stage and you were a sprinter that got dropped 5k in of 227 kilometre stage, and that's a long day out.
Well, that's the thing. If there's any saving grace, it's the fact that this is the easy side of the Motorolo in that it's only 8.5% compared to the 12% average that they would face if they were going up the side they went up last time. And then they hit up the Stelvio for the first time in the stage, which we should also point out is the Cima copy of this year's race. So is there anyone that you think is going to want to chase after that?
It's bragging rights, isn't it, really? I mean, you could see like a climber who isn't on GC, maybe going for it.
I think it's got to be an Italian rider. I mean, I'm thinking someone like Domenico Pozzovivo, tiny little climber.
Do you think there's a danger on this stage that because there's so much climbing in it, that we could see actually a bit of an anti-climax whereby the riders just think...
Sometimes, you know, you end up with a kind of stalemate situation where people are afraid to attack or afraid to take any chances.
Especially when we consider what's to come in the rest of the week. It's
exactly
a lot of climbing to come.
This might be probably the hardest stage of the race, but the stages coming after it, no picnic. So if you go hard here, you may well end up paying for it later.
Well, I think that the way you get exciting racing is to have fresh riders at their best, attacking each other. And after 220 kilometres on the third massive climb of the day, no one's going to be feeling particularly fresh. Good descenders going over the top of that final climb and onto the descent into Bormio, maybe there's a bit more of an opportunity there to gain some time.
It is an absolutely fantastic descent, that. And there's also the famous section known as the 14 Tornadoes, which is a midway down the climb where there's just spaghetti hairpins. If anyone survives that stage, we move on to stage 17, which starts in Tirano and goes to Val di Fassa.
Again, I'm going to go for breakaway. There's a climb right from the start. So all of the riders will be on their turbo trainers, and if you get dropped on that first climb, then it's a long day out in the saddle to try and stay within the time limit.
Stage 18, it doesn't look like it's going to be an easy day by any stretch.
This is very much, I think, where you're going to see the rest of the race, if not decided, then certainly whittled down.
You've got 5 massive climbs on there, but it's only 137 kilometres. So if anyone wants to make up time, then this is the stage to do it on with a long range attack.
Stage 19.
This is still a tough stage, but it's not quite as brutal as the day before.
I think once again you've got a climb right at the start of the stage. There is an opportunity here for anyone who wants to really roll the dice and go for a long one, but I think it's going to come down to that final climb. Everyone by now is going to be on their knees.
So stage 20, it's the final day in the mountains. No doubt there's going to be a lot of riders who are just waiting for this day to be over, because essentially it's the last real test in the Giro for many of the people.
Probably similar to stage 19, to be honest. There is an uphill finish. I mean, it flattens out for the last 10k or so. And then you've got actually downhill bits on the way up the Monte Grappa. It's a really uneven climb. And just to make them really unpopular with the riders, the organisers have thrown in a 20% climb 30 kilometres into the stage. Just why not? I'm sure the riders will love the race organisers for that one.
With the time trial coming as the final stage, stage 21, do you think people will be saving themselves?
It depends who's down and where your strengths lie. I mean, if you had to pick who's probably going to be down on time, you might anticipate it might be some of the time trial orientated GC guys. And if that's the case, then I would have thought you'd probably fancy your chances in a 28 kilometre time trial more than a mountainous 190 kilometre stage.
But I think at the same time, we could, if there's someone like Quintana in pink by 30 seconds, you might be thinking, oh, hang on. I don't like the look of that 28 kilometre time trial on the last day. So we could even see someone like the pink jersey, if things are still tight at the top, going on the attack, which would be really interesting.
So we move on to the finale, the final stage of this year's Giro d'Italia, which is a 28 kilometre individual time trial that goes from Monza to Milan. What sort of time gaps do we think are realistically defendable?
But this is a real pure time trialist stage. The first 10 kilometres on the Monza motor racing circuit, which is where they hold the Italian Grand Prix. And then after that, it's sort of a steady downhill on technical big roads into Milan. If you've got a strong time trialist who's within a minute, I think they'll be eyeing this up nicely. But anything more than that, I think might be too much on this stage.
If the gaps are close, it could be a riveting watch. But I think with the amount of climbing and the amount of stages that go beforehand, I think we'll be lucky if that's the case.
So thanks for watching our Giro d'Italia preview. No doubt all of our predictions will have been completely wrong, and you will have enjoyed watching how wrong they all were. Join us again when we'll be doing previews of the Tour de France, which is just around the corner. So until then, see you later.